Although I would definitely consider NXT to be the more consistent wrestling product and one of the shows that I can enjoy on a weekly basis, I have to take issue with this show. This show I really didn't feel was up to NXT's usual standard. I just had a real hard time getting into it. I'll go into more of my reasons about that as I go throughout this review. But even though this was a bad show, most of the shows that NXT do are much better than this, are much more consistent. So I still recommend you guys keep watching NXT. I'll link this show and all the other future shows that I watch and review down in the description box below. You may have enjoyed this show, I don't really know. But please, if you have, or even if you haven't, if you disagree or agree with me, let me know down in the comments section below. I'm going to get on with this review. So after last week's show, we knew that Big E Langston was going to be on the show somehow or another. I thought he was going to be on the show to maybe address the title loss and maybe address Bo Dallas. But it turns out that instead, he was there just to beat up a jobber called Aiden English, Mr. Mustachio as I like to call him. Big E Langston wins this match very, very quickly, as he damn right should, and he even decimates him twice more in the process, much to the deliberation of the fans there at the Full Sail Arena in Florida, I believe. Big E Langston looks a lot more intense here, which is how you would be after you've just come off a big loss like he did 2 weeks ago against Bo Dallas, in which he had gone undefeated prior towards that. And I do wonder now with NXT, what plans are they going to have for Big E Langston going forward? Are they going to kind of phase him out of NXT now? Is he going to be taking more part on the Raw and SmackDown roster? Be interesting to see where WWE actually go with Big E Langston now, because I think at one stage they did have some big plans for Big E Langston against Mark Henry, but they didn't really pan out as things changed. And I do wonder if he's only going to be playing some sort of managerial or bodyguard role for another couple of months on WWE TV. Will they keep him around on NXT just for some star power and just for, just to beat up some enhancement jobbers or for a storyline or something? Who really knows? Be interested to see what they do with Big E Langston on not just NXT, but also on the main roster going in these next couple of months. You really have to take a liking to Emma, don't you? This character is just, yes, it may be corny, yes, it may be a little bit stupid in some people's opinion, but it's damn entertaining, and it is getting Emma quite over, as we saw in her match against Aksana in the NXT Women's Championship final first round match before they go on to the semi-finals. So I thought the little backstage segment they did with Renee Young with the bubble machine and everything, and Emma, of course, there being her usual awkward character, I thought that was pretty entertaining. I did like that. And, I didn't think the match was all that good. It's good that Emma is over, and she is one of the more over divas on NXT right now. The match wasn't very good. I don't think any match of Aksana really is that good. But Emma wins, and that is the most important thing. And I found it quite interesting also how NXT actually brought some kids into the ring to kind of do the dance with Emma. It's kind of similar to what they do with the Funkasaurus now, which is a good thing to do. You need to try and get people involved, and with Emma's gimmick, you can actually do that. So we've got Emma, I believe, versus Summer Rae in the semi-finals, and Paige versus Alicia Fox in the other semi-final. I'm expecting a Summer Rae and Paige final, and out of those two, I would say Paige will definitely go on and win the tournament, in my opinion. So on this show, we had the return of Leo Kruger versus, oh, you guessed it, another jobber. This time, the jobber was Dante Dash. Of course, Leo Kruger wins here. It's his return match. He's getting all the focus, as he probably should do. And I'll just take this time out to say this. I have never been a massive fan of Leo Kruger, the performer, but despite the unique gimmick and, the character that they've given him in NXT right now, which makes him stand out somewhat, I don't see what the WWE see in him. It's kind of similar to Bo Dallas. I just don't see what they see in Bo Dallas. And it's just something, maybe I just have to accept that he is a good performer, but he doesn't just go for my preferences. That's probably just it. And I've never understood why they gave him the typical first and second name like they do for everyone in NXT right now. Why don't they just call him something like the Hunter? He has this hunter gimmick from South Africa. He acts like a hunter. So why call him Leo Kruger when you can call him the Hunter, which would say so much more about his character just by his name? Here's some interesting news on the wrestling front. Apparently, the Briscoes' contracts from ROH have expired. Jay Briscoe is obviously the ROH World Champion. I don't know what they're going to do there. I don't pay attention to the ROH product, but I think this is a great opportunity for either a TNA or a WWE to actually get the Briscoe brothers. And Briscoes are a great tag team, and I'd love to see them in a TNA or in a WWE. And to be honest with you, as much as I like the Briscoes, I don't really feel that they will fit into the WWE with their PG products. I don't think their characters will fit into the PG product. I think the Briscoes may be better off in TNA, where they focus a little bit more on the tag team division, in my opinion. And right now, I think TNA need the tag teams. Nevertheless, I would love to see the Briscoes in WWE. They were one of my favorite characters and favorite tag teams when I watched ROH back in like 2011, 2012. Another show where our new NXT champion, Bo Dallas, wasn't in the main event. And to be honest with you, that's kind of a good thing. Because right now, I don't think that with the Wyatt family around, I don't really think that Bo Dallas should be in the main events right now. Even though when you want to put over a new champion, one of the best ways you can put him over is to put him in main event segments. This is similar to what they did with Seth Rollins. It was similar to what they did with Big E Langston. But for Bo Dallas, they're just not doing that. I find that quite strange. It's almost like they gave him the belt and now all of a sudden they've just lost confidence in the guy. I don't know. Maybe this will change going forward. But Bo Dallas had his first match as champion on this show. It was against a jobber, of course, because most matches on this show were freaking jobber matches. It was one of the reasons why I really didn't like the flow of the show, personally. Most of the matches were freaking jobber matches. I think this time he was up against Axel Keegan. And it was really funny. Not only is he NXT's mid-card champion right now, kind of like CM Punk was, but he has a bit of CM Punk in that sense, but the fans are cheering for Keegan and booing Bo Dallas, so he's essentially now NXT's version of John Cena. He's their top babyface with the champion, but he's getting booed, essentially. And, you know, obviously Bo Dallas wins this match, as he should do. He's the champion. And we had an interesting post-match segment with Leo Kruger, who only just returned on this show. Leo Kruger comes into the ring to destroy Axel Keegan, and the fans were cheering for Leo Kruger, who is supposed to be the heel in this feud. And it looks like the next challenger to the NXT champion is going to be Leo Kruger, despite just coming back. And I'm like, you're going to feed Leo Kruger to Bo Dallas on his return. You know, and right now, I don't see how Leo Kruger should really win the NXT championship. So you might as well just feed him. Quite ironic with him being the Hunter gimmick, feeding him to a Bo Dallas going forward. And it could be a semi-interesting feud, even though I don't really care all that much about Bo Dallas. And I've never really been a Leo Kruger fan, so maybe a couple of main events from now on just ain't going to be my cup of tea. And really, NXT are going to have to take some big measures to try and get a better reaction for Bo Dallas, because ever since he's been champion, and a bit before that as well, the fans have been very obviously booing him. Very similar to how the fans very obviously boo John Cena. And they do nothing about that, so I guess they're just going to sweep it under the rug with Bo Dallas. And, you know, if you're going to do this with Bo Dallas, if you're going to try and capitalize on this, the best way of doing it would be to turn him heel, in my opinion. If he's not getting a great reaction as the champion, you have to do something different with him. You cannot afford for your NXT top babyface champion to be getting booed on a consistent basis again when he's against heels. It's similar to the John Cena situation. It doesn't help the feud dynamics. In my opinion, Bo Dallas will probably have to turn heel at some point, which might mean that he'll have to get more of a personality, which he doesn't have right now. This is a message for more of the newer viewers of NXT. Remember Conor O'Brien on NXT, that kind of big guy, that ugly-looking guy? Well, if you're a newer viewer to NXT, you would have just seen the gimmick that fits this guy so well. I mean, I've been very familiar with the Ascension gimmick. A lot of people who have watched my NXT reviews before will be very familiar with the Ascension gimmick. But I think they have found the perfect gimmick for a guy like Conor O'Brien. He just seems to fit this Ascension gimmick, this like scary gimmick, this creepy gimmick quite well. And I do wonder, he had a video package with a promo segment in there, and I do wonder whether or not they are going to add to that Ascension faction. You know, it kind of crumbled over time. The original faction crumbled because of Epico going to the main roster, and then Kenneth Cameron got into some trouble, so they've had a bit of trouble putting together this faction, and they kind of teased this thing with, I think it was Rick Victor, a while back, and I'm just wondering what they're going to do with the Ascension faction going forward, because I did think that was a big thing on NXT, something that going forward could help the WWE tag team division. I can't wait to see what they're actually going to do, even though really they said they're going to rise many times and they never have really risen. This time they really have to, in my opinion, or else it's just going to be like, well, I don't believe this faction anymore, saying they're going to rise. Wow, talk about Crash TV in this main event. My God. As announced last week, it was Scott Dawson and Garrett Dillon, the Barbecue Boys, versus Cassius Ohno and Corey Graves in a #1 contendership for the Tag Team Championships currently held by the Wyatt family. And going in, I kind of knew Cassius Ohno and Corey Graves were going to win because, let's face it, you weren't going to have a heel tag team versus a heel tag team, so it was kind of obvious in that sense if you're a smarter fan such as myself. I have one question, though. Why do the Barbecue Boys have a French manager? It just seems a little bit weird. Sylvester Lafort is a fantastic character, and I love the guy. But why do they have a French manager? It just seems a bit out of character. It just seems a little bit odd. And I must admit, this main event, I had trouble getting into. I really did. It wasn't until the post-match segment that I was really all that interested. Corey Graves and Cassius Ohno get the victory after about 9.5 minutes, which I kind of knew was going to happen. I wasn't really too interested in the match, but then we get to the beatdown, which was Crash TV R Us. You know, you have the Wyatt family come out to beat down Corey Graves and Cassius Ohno. Then you have them doing a 3-on-2 beatdown. Then you have Adrian Neville coming out for the save to make it 3-on-3. And then the Barbecue Boys join in the action. And then William Regal joins into the action to get a piece of the Wyatt family and the Barbecue Boys. And I'm just like, what the fuck is going on here? Clusterfuckarama. That's right, I just said that. Clusterfuckarama. And we end up with the Wyatt family and the Barbecue Boys with Sylvester Lafort ending the segment on top. But more specifically, it seemed like they were hinting maybe a Bray Wyatt versus William Regal feud, which I think could be a good feud for Bray Wyatt, especially if he's going to be on the roster soon. This will be a good sort of, you know, welcome to the main roster. You know, you've done your deeds now. You're against a veteran, and let's see how well you do against this veteran until you debut on the roster. That kind of feud. The kind of feud they gave to an Antonio Cesaro, or the kind of feud they gave to a Cassius Ohno against William Regal. So that should be interesting. But the post-match was all over the place. It felt like a double shield beatdown clusterfuckarama. It really did. While the ending was kind of a clusterfuckarama, as I like to call it, it was semi-interesting, I felt. Unfortunately, I didn't feel the rest of the show was really all that interesting. We had, what, 3 jobber matches, and you know, usually there's more storyline advancement on NXT, and the show, in my opinion, just didn't really flow. It was just really hard to get into. So not one of the better NXT shows, in my opinion, of the last couple of months and over the last year. Generally, NXT has been very, very consistent, and generally you don't get shows like this very often. It kind of just seemed like it was, you know, jobber match, jobber match, jobber match, video package, jobber match, and then let's get to this main event and make it all worth their while in the main event. It's almost like they were trying to give us too much in the main event because they didn't give us enough in the opening half an hour to 40 minutes of show. That's been my thoughts on the show. Please let me know your thoughts down on this NXT show, down in the comment section below. It's been me, Mr. Parkin, with your NXT review this week. Thank you very much for watching, and goodbye.